where shadows loom. Dreamers fight against the gloom. Little seer, join the song. With every note we'll prove them wrong. The night tries to deceive. Together we shall believe. Bakers dance on the broken dreams, but in our hearts we spark the flames. Freedom calls out from the dark. We will ignite, we'll leave them marked. Hand in hand, breaking barriers, we take a stand. No more silence, we're loud and free. With our voices, we'll change the decree. Behind the moments and lights we see, where love and hope will set us free. Bakers dance on the broken dreams, but in our hearts we spark the flames. Freedom calls out from the dark. We will ignite, we'll leave a mark. In every heart let hope take flight. Eternal vigilance is our right.
More a question than a curse. How could hell be any worse? The flames are stunning, the camera's running. So America, take warning. I wish that was the case. Too bad. Too sad. And it's after, years of tears that I can move to this attitude and know and accept the fact that America died 4/20/2024. 4/20/2024. Because Los Angeles is burning. A placard reads, "The end of days. Jacaranda boughs are bending in the haze. More a question than a curse. How could hell be any worse?" And I remember I definitely could not drive. I got my driver's license when I was 16 years old. So I suppose I was 15. And I remember holding the first, or might not have been, I think Bad Religion had like a EP but it was all red cover. And it was called "Could Hell Be Any Worse?" And I think everyone that picked up the album in our neighborhood thought it was a good question. Why? Because we were so poor? Because we were starving? Because, no, none of those. It was the vibration. It was the feeling, And let us say what we mean by vibration is feeling. Like, what you feel is real. What you feel is real. You're not the only one. It doesn't mean you can't be deceived, and it doesn't mean that magic doesn't target someone's emotions. But that doesn't disqualify the true emotion, right? I mean, like I said to Maria, because in her initiation, the first part was called war on Yahweh. Or like Jamaicans say, war on the Yah. Now I sound Irish. And part of this initiation, the part called War on Yahweh, part of that was this exact reorganizing of my worldview, of how I viewed myself and everything with the five senses, right? And she was like, spirit, soul, body, spirit, soul, is, pretty much what most Christians agree on. It's probably the Catholic pedophile church. You should, anybody out there, I don't give a fuck what your family did. You should, if you're going inside of a Catholic church, you should be ashamed of yourself. Your ancestors are wondering why you would be involved. It doesn't matter today what it is. Why would you ever join with a group that has admitted that they systematically genocided our people? And you can see this vibrational tendency for guilt and misery. Because why? And I'm talking with our people, to white Christian privilege America. You should be ashamed of yourself, but because you're not on the highest level, deepest level that other people are dying, so you can have the biggest rip-off scam ran on you in the history of the fucking world. Because why? You're just a low self-esteem. You don't value your time, and you think what you have is a lot. Like, we got a piece of land and a nice house and big trucks, right? But you have no soul. You have, and that's exactly where I was going, is the redefining of that. Like she said, okay, if that person, the fake, doesn't know they're fake, let me say that, the masses don't know they're the masses. And someone might think, how dare you speak about anyone like that? I don't want them abused, hurt in any way. I believe in principles. We believe in the principle of no force, no fraud. Those are the laws of Maria Orsic, social laws. The Vril mother. No force, no fraud. But the masses, instinctually, unconsciously, are automatically side with the power that best preserves their worldview, their God, country, family. Illusion. But the masses have nothing else. One time, one of our group rituals, one of the girls was a little bit tipsy from alcohol, and later I was really raging, about how boring and dumb alcohol is to me. And Maria said, "But Joe, remember where you were?" And she's like, "I swear to you, some people, that's all they have." And I was like, what do you mean? I don't know what you mean. Like, what, they have alcohol? And she said, "No." I said, "The last thing they have is alcohol? Like, that's scary. That's, and I felt terrible." And she said, No. She said, "Of course, I'm against alcohol. It's bad for you. It's bad for your body. You're never going to get a good result from something bad." And she said, what I'm saying is, this is someone broken down on their last leg, and the last thing they have is alcohol." And she said, "I know that hurts your heart of hearts, but it's true." And that was her way of, like, telling me, you're in a hologram. Be sensitive to the balance between people that can't accept it and their survival. Like, they're on the edge of suicide. And I felt really bad that I think no one really knew what to do during the ritual for her. And it was like some strange foreign power was influencing things. And Maria was right there. Me and her were trying to fight it. But it was like, I wish we would have just loved her. But there was a lot of power. Like, I've yet to really understand completely what was going on. And I think this was the second group ritual. I know the very first one was April 28th, I believe, the day Master Miguel Serrano, who, I know to our people, Christian, white privilege America, and believe it, there's no privilege for poor white people unless they completely sell out and become exactly who the Christians or Catholics, whatever. Catholics have the most power, and then the evangelical, left behind rapture people are next. And yeah, it's hard to understand. There was so much supernatural shit going on. This was definitely the night of the final warning to America on an astral level. Even though, like I told you, somehow, some way, when I was a Christian, all of a sudden I was on the radio speaking to, what the guy said was hundreds of thousands of Christian listeners. And I told that dream that I've told here before about being in the like mega church and seeing Satan on the cross. I mean, on the throne, on the stage, on the Hollywood rock star stage. Right? This is how deep and complex this Yahweh initiation, puzzle, mystery, who is, the Bible exact words are something like to Moses, like, yeah, I told Abraham that my name was El Shaddai. This is like saying, I mean, this is in reality, people. I hope you can hear me. This is like a book saying, I told Darth Vader that I was Frodo, but now I'm telling you. Well, I said Darth Vader. I don't even know how to reference it exactly. Okay, this is it. I told Obi-Wan, right? I told Obi-Wan that I was Frodo. But now I'm telling you, I'm Luke Skywalker. And I don't know if you can understand this, but I'm Batman and Spider-Man too. And it's like, damn, dude. I'm going to have to go to other worlds to understand this. Who are you? I'm a myth. This is what a myth is. Sorry, I don't mean to waste your time. It's not funny. It's delirium. It's funny that we would torture. I mean, it's funny in a backwards, exhaustive, suicidal way. That, dude, we believe this shit as a country. This is how we're going out. And I mean let me just say, this is how deep this shit is. I don't know if anyone can follow me in this. But the Process Church, Aleister Crowley, they are completely behind the fake nation British, I don't even want to say it, British Israelite state over there. They are completely behind it. And they are just absolutely putting on a show. And the show, part of the show that most of the people I see on everywhere, they cannot understand how these people, this nation, wants everyone to hate them. Needs everyone to hate them. It generates power for the black magician. The power comes from your emotions, from your hatred. And you should hate what they're doing to people. If you don't, you're the masses. But let me tell you what we have in common with the masses. We feel things. We feel the same emotions. We feel afraid. When someone's like, I am a crazy nut, I would, do something horrible to children, old people. You know what I mean? Day after day, they're saying, listen, we will burn you alive. We will light you on fire or blow your body apart if you're lucky. What's even scarier to me is we'll collapse a whole apartment building on you. And imagine the person who doesn't get killed but just trapped. And Maria Orsic wants you to know, I'm the goddess. I'm the Valkyrie who's there for that person. How? First, to help them out of their body. And then get them on this other plane of existence that's more real than this reality. And start to tell them and help them understand this is not real. It's like a dream. It didn't happen. I know it feels like it happened. I know you love your children, your family, whatever. But you have to start to recover. And the first thing you have to know is you were in technology. And you still are. I am from outside of the technology. There is no God to help you. And that's part of what the technology is teaching you. Right? Check this out. The Israelites, they didn't cross the Red Sea and Pharaoh's army drown. It's a fucking myth. It didn't happen. Jesus didn't raise the dead. He didn't heal the lepers. He didn't do any of this. You know why you don't see it happening? Because nature is a cruel-ass, mean machine that appears to be a monster. Like I lived in Florida, when a hurricane is, picking up your house and killing someone, you hate nature. You hate the ocean. You hate, the storm that the ocean brought, everything. Even here, like Maria said, what's crazy is there's actually not anything that is unnatural. They're actually so evil, the people who rule you, the OTO, Golden Dawn, the whole witchcraft, Hollywood witchcraft, music industry, powerhouse. They're doing it on purpose. First of all, because it's a simulation, they're exploiting every aspect of knowing you're the avatar of the avatar. So you're dreaming in a dream. They know exactly how to play on that in a natural way. Because, like Maria said, nothing's unnatural in that it came from somewhere else. So they're exploiting natural plants, natural minerals, or natural oils from the ground, extracting them in insane ways. Like I seen a beautiful, like in one of my rituals, I seen a beautiful poppy field. I didn't even know it was poppies at first. And it was like all of a sudden I was with the whole field, all of the flowers, and I was like, you're telling me fucking, men found out a way to make this plant harmful. Man manipulated nature. That's unnatural. Let me tell you what is unnatural. Black magic. Because it's taking natural energy, mostly the energy of the orgasm. Anywhere you go, everywhere you go, people are saying this. Like, you think, I'm a fucking Hoosier. I didn't know anything about Tantra, anything. I was a Christian. That's the whole fucking point of the whole everything, is that the good sheep changed their wool. They changed. Like, I grew up thinking that God existed, and I'm not an atheist. And how do you rectify that? The Bible God isn't God. The Bible God's El Shaddai. I was El Shaddai, now I'm Yahweh. Oh, there just happens to be a God called El Shaddai in real other mythology with a son called Yahweh. Which is even still a myth. If you think the Sumerian shit is absolutely true, you're absolutely dumb. Like Maria Orsic said to me, 14 years ago, do you think they didn't lie on clay tablets? And, what I'm trying to really say is, believe it or not, we know we're the light in the wilderness, but we've come Me on behalf of Maria, to give you something to believe in. This is something to believe in. And what do I mean by it? I mean this. Maria and Lou did this. And it can happen again. No one's saying that it can't. I was always the vessel. And like Maria said, the things you did for Yahweh, I just counted them for me because I knew your intent. She said, but now it's war on Yahweh, and it's time for the mama, the mother, the real goddess, the real God of this world. And this is what she showed me. She said, look at this, Joseph. No one ever has seen anything supernatural in your family that was real. And believe me, I went through a living hell, for me at least, to come to this place. And believe me, I'm going to tell you how it had nothing to do with Jesus, Frodo, that is, or Luke Skywalker, or Batman. It had nothing to do with Christianity or what I believed at the time. You know what it had to do with? The God of this world and a goddess helping me on the astral plane literally try to change computer technology. Maria, she told me, showed me one night. She was like, she said, I've said to you a couple times, you're here, which means we're one, you won. And she's like, you won by losing. And I was like, I jokingly said, yeah, everything. And she said, it's no joke though. And it's crazy. It's hard to explain, because reality, this holographic reality, is only happening in each one of our minds. And that is why what I'm going to tell you right now is possible. But she said to me, now that you know, this is your final round. Because, not because you had the ability to get out of here, no one does, but because this is what you paid for, and it's ending. She said in many rounds, this is when she was still letting me know. She can talk like, she said, I can talk like you. The very American accent. She's like, I do it so you can understand me, and so we're like one, so you're not always looking at me like I'm from Austria. The East tree, Easter. She is Queen of Easter. She is our May Queen, our Mary Anna Queen. And she was showing me this. I did this, she said, with my God. And I seen first, this was in my ritual on the mushrooms, out of my body, on some other plane outside of my bedroom. But standing there, talking to Maria like I was dreaming, and like she always asks me, what do you, how do you like my clothes? She'll say, you like this dress, or, she used to tell me back then, like, I ask you because I value your opinion, like, she's funny. Even when she wears, like, she says her dancing clothes, and she said to me, you would say workout clothes. because dancing to her is a workout, of course. Because why? Class. Everything. Everything is dance. Life is dance. Dance is life. Dance through life. Dance with life. The dance of life is the greatest bliss, eternal orgasm. And people's like, I want to get, in on that. I want to be part of that. You are. First start going inside of yourself and imagining, seeking. Seek and you will find. Knock at the door and it will be opened. Lou, he said to me, Joseph, in your dream, I literally stood at the door of your hotel room in Israel and knocked. And he's like, guess what? The good news is you opened. I go, I sure did. And he goes, why'd you open? I said, you know why? I looked through the people. And I thought, here's a hippie dude. He don't look like a cop. He said, and you looked at my clothes and you thought, I kind of like, a sort of working man look. And you what? I said, and I opened the door for a complete stranger in the middle of the night in Israel after I was snooping around the Catholic Church and found out that they were hoarding gold and jewels and diamonds in a little fucking room. They had so much of it that it was fucking overflowing. And this motherfucker, he had a little, he had a little monastic bedroom full of about a couple $1 million worth of jewels and gold and blah, blah, blah. But very important this night, I just seen my whole self as a Christian through someone else's eyes. Mostly through my mother's eyes. And check this out. I'll tell you her thoughts. This really happened to me. It sounds, like I said, sometimes I don't tell shit because and I have told this, but never in this detail. Because Mama Orsic is here helping me remember. My mom, always my kids spent time with their grandma and stuff. And like all of a sudden my son, he was maybe 2, maybe close to 3, started urinating, peeing all the time, like crazy, like it was like a nightmare. And it literally manifests in like a day and a half. Yeah, at the time I was working in like a bakery. And my wife was working, so we would like sort of switch off. And all of a sudden I was just like, he's like 2.5 or something, and he's still telling me like, Dad, I gotta go to the bathroom, and I would get like a little chair, a little step for him, and I'm living in like a vibrational nightmare at the time. Literally, this is like, this is no lie, man. It was like 9 months after I became a Christian. So 9 months after I became a Christian, I had all this crazy shit going on with the former cult leader guy threatening me, calling my house, sitting across from my house, telling people he's gonna kill me, the blah blah blah. but it was real. It sucked because it was real. And, my mom already, we had our second and third child at home with like a like MD doctor though that did home births, but that was enough, just like. What's crazy is that's not mainstream Christian. You think Christians would be like, yeah, we should stay away from hospitals since the Lord is our healer. No, they're the biggest proponents of fake medicine and everything that comes with it. And I'm not kidding you. Like, half the fight was like, I don't want my mom to know that this is happening to him. Because I took him to our doctor. And he did a lot of, like, not high-tech testing, but like blood tests, and it was like, not like, he told me, like, there very well could be something much worse, I don't know. He was basically telling me there's something pressing on his bladder. He's like, he was really pressing on like trying to actually feel like, x-rays and he's like, I just want you to be prepared if it is something like a tumor. And by this time it had been going on for like 3 or 4 days. And he gave me like a prescription and like a referral to another doctor. And this was, I think, pretty much right after I had the second dream about Jesus, where I was in like I also had a dream about like, I don't want anyone to get the idea. I want to say like an angel because he floated out of the sky, but it was a man without wings. But true. And I just, like Maria said, tell the dreams because they relate. So in this like succession, these things happen, and this was actually what I was basing my life on. And people might say that was my loss at that time, but that's what made me win in the future. What? That I was willing to, maybe I was forced through desperation, but I was willing to believe in my experience that there was like supernatural energy. And that we didn't need hospitals and doctors. Of course, you get in an accident, everyone understands. It's not like that. I'm talking about chronic illness and the whole conventional medicine. It's one thing if you get in a car accident. It's another thing when you're trusting a dude who's telling you, they taught me in school to radiate you. And I believe that's the best way to heal you, is to make you sicker, weaker. And that never made sense to me. So on that, very, like when I was 20 years old, I just sort of worked from there. And like I said, we had a quote real doctor who delivered our children at home in our bedroom and did a absolute wonderful job, because when he entered the room, it was just like peace hit the room. He was just a healer. Some people are healers, everywhere they go. they're a doctor, because as soon as you walk in the room, you're like, I feel a little bit better. Someone who's really sensitive, And that does make us very sensitive. And this ritual I've seen, this like confrontation that, like, I guess a week or so, like I couldn't completely keep him from my mom. And so I had to tell her before she took him. And, she freaks out. What are you going to do? And, she just said everything a normal, conventional person would say, like, your doctor, you got to get him to this other doctor. Like, your doctor don't know about this. And I'm thinking, motherfucker, he knows more than you. And, like, everything she was saying is like, oh, you can't count on anything supernatural. You have to just completely, trust the system with this. And it made me kind of freak out, because I felt like I had been through 9 months of hell. And I was a sold out believer in this supernatural Jesus who had now appeared to me twice. And the energy of the dreams is what was saving my life, like making me able to make it through a day's work. I was like totally having panic attacks all day, every day, and I didn't know they existed. I didn't know anyone else felt this way. And this was like 1999. And like I said, I was completely unplugged from conventional medicine. So to me, I was just freaking out. And I needed to figure it out, like why. I wasn't totally blaming myself. I mean, Christians, they have their Satan and demons and all this. So I was all caught up in that. That's not true. It's people. It is people. And it's much more personal and shit because you're in a hologram. The world is a lot smaller because you're in a hologram. The world's very small, actually, on a magical level. There's not a lot of people on these other levels. That's why all of a sudden you realize, like, holy shit, my life must now be about protecting my astral self, because that's what's like under attack to subconsciously, subliminally affect me. And it's like, Maria's like, it's targeted exactly at someone like you. I said, what do you mean? And she said, someone with psychic abilities that you can't put your finger on. She's like, I can. I know. She told me one night exactly, and I've told people exactly how to use me. Like, you could use me like this. Say, I really want a supernatural answer from my true self. Say you're starting. You need evidence. You need proof. Joe says he's connected to Maria and says that I can secretly ask Maria or him on another plane of existence. I have to concentrate, and most important, not tell anyone else, so that what? It's proven to be supernatural. I've only had a few people do this, and both people were like, yeah, you exactly. At one point, you said exactly you addressed the exact question. My one friend, I remember, he said, okay, I'll take you up on that. And he said his question was, how am I connected to my actual blood ancestors that lived before me on Earth. He said, you talked for like 15 minutes about something totally, completely different. He said, which was puzzling me and interesting. He said, and then right at some magic moment, he said, you said, but there was a book, it was kind of like a tarot type thing, sitting on the table at the time, because Destiny, his true self, my friend's true self, was involved somehow, some way. And I can't remember, word for word, but his thing was his ancestors. And I picked up the book and I said, whatever's going on, I just feel like you're supposed to do this. It was like a deck of cards, and you pick a card and you go to that page, you go to that definition. It wasn't tarot, it was like animals or something, Celtic animals or something. And so he picks a card, and I told him, I go, dude, I don't have to read it. You can read it yourself. In the book, I says, page this, and he turned a page, and he turned to the page, and he went, oh, fuck. And he picked up the book and showed me, and it said, the ancestor card. And I said, I guess that had something to do with your question. He goes, my question was, how am I connected to my ancestors? He goes, fuck, Joe, you just showed me. Psychically, supernaturally, not physically through blood. He goes, how the fuck could I deny that? He goes, how many of these cards are there? I go, I think there's 48. He goes, so 1 in 48 chance. And he goes, how many millions of odds of a chance that you would say in your whole thing, hey, this book's sitting here for a reason. You're supposed to do this. And Maria's like, that's exactly why you work for me. I use you like that every fucking day. Every day, day in and day out, day in and day out. Because we never really totally got to it in detail. But what me and Maria have been doing for years, like we've been recording, this podcast thing every 5 days a week or something for months now. But for 14 years, okay, and so that means I've been seeing her, a few hours. She comes astrally to my house on a schedule, and believe me, I try not to be late. And she actually says to me all the time, like, I know you can't remember. She's like, she's like, Joe, we talk about there's 3 of you, but there's even another you that astrally runs around with me working. We don't fuck around. We don't dance. We don't play music. We work. And she's like, we might only do it a couple hours a night, but we work. And I was like, doing what? This is way back in 2011, before I knew she was Maria even. And she said, the hologram of the gods, as what you know as reality, she said is so traumatic to people that they can get stuck in between these worlds, like stuck on the astral plane and not being reborn or going home. That's what's going to eventually, when you die, eventually you have to relive your life or make it home or become the slave of Aleister Crowley. There's only 3 roads before you. And a lot of times you intuitively or psychically know that repeating your life isn't going to help. But the true self has the final say. And like, dude, it took me, I am not kidding. I understood this shit at one point, like 2012, after like a year. I got a clear picture, and I was bothered for months and months that I had to live this many times. I started out with just one, that I had lived this life one time before. I screamed in like a nightmare, like, no, are you kidding? She's like, Joe, it's common. I go, so this isn't just my second time? She's like, of course not. I was devastated. I was like, you're telling me I have repeated this whole stupid fucking thing more than 2 times? And she was like, yes. More than 2 times. She's like, don't worry about it from there. Okay? But it bothered me, and I would ask her before, dude, I know it's more. And I had to get absolutely confirmation on the night before Lucifer. Because, and I'm talking about St. Louis, Big Lou, Alleluia Shiva. Alleluia. He said to me, you are going home. And I wish I could say I did something. I did do something, the ritual. That's what changed everything. That's what changed the Matrix. But also, there's a very important thing here. Also, that this is truly a holographic, like, video game, essentially. It essentially breaks down to like a game. Because to get out of here any earlier, I had to do what I did this round, and I just couldn't do it. And what that was fulfilling what my true self wanted the avatar to experience. When you're crying out as a Christian to God, you're crying out to your true self, like, stop this, stop putting me through this. This isn't me. I remember saying that at the very end of Christianity. Like, something's wrong. Yeah, something's wrong. This isn't me. And see, there's too many people around us who don't identify with what they believe. And that is a very strict, clear, I should say not strict, but clear dividing line. Right? That cannot be bridged. It's not going to be bridged. It's not going to be bridged. Let me give you a sort of double dose of Mother's teachings. As I would be in these, I thought they were visions. I had no idea until this. Like, it's like dreaming and waking up from a dream, but you're waking up. I would be waking up with, snapping out of it with Maria, standing right there next to me. In our mind, we would be telepathically communicating. And it was beyond thought. I wasn't thinking this shit. It was just happening. And I said to her, oh my God, what? This was in the very beginning. I said, oh my God, what was that vision? What was I seeing? And she said, vision? What do you mean? Telepathically. And she said, I'm helping you remember. And I was like, oh my God. So what I'm trying to say is, and I said to her, oh my God, I'm just standing here beside you, and that was happening in my mind. And she goes, yeah, just like a dream. I flipped out. I go, damn, that's fucking crazy, because I'm really in the bed. And she was like, as an earthling on earth. I go, man, I thought that was real. And she said it was. You're that sophisticated, Joseph. That was your memory. I go, but I don't remember that. When the fuck did that happen? Like Lacey Peterson. Like talking to Lacey Peterson. And talking to many other people, she would tell me, Joe, you thought that was just happening now? That was your memory. Like, really, you were really in the memory. I was like, yeah, no shit. For real. And I would marvel at her. I would go like, damn, dude, how can you do that? And she would be like, because we're one and I know what I'm doing. I know what you need to remember. She's like, Joe, you don't need to be taught anything. You need to remember what I've already taught you. And you're not going to receive it any other way. She's like, do you not understand what's going on? I'd be like, no. And she's like, I am willing to move on this level to reflect your true self to you. She said, I tell you for real, I'm going to turn your friend's room full of mirrors nightmare into a beautiful dream. And I was like, oh my God, that's why I like Tara so much. I said I could never figure out why I liked that girl so much, who was my friend's daughter. And she's the one, she had a dream. She had a dream. She was in a mental institution at the time. She said they gave her some weird drugs, and she had a dream that she woke up from a dream in the mental institution. And she's like, because it was a dream, I guess, I looked down and I had slit both my wrists. And like the whole bed was full of blood. She was like, and I like freaked out and I looked around and the whole room was nothing but mirrors. She said all I did was see myself, with these bloody arms and shit. And I screamed and woke up in the mental institution. I was like, God damn, Tara, you're going to kill me with sadness. Like, and she was like 19. And how did she get on drugs? Because, let's just say it. Locked down in a police state, how does millions, do you hear me? Millions of pounds of dangerous, plant extracted at 500 to 1, and then like fentanyl, however you say it, a synthetic heroin. That's the end of America. That's the end of the world. Thank you. Thanks a lot for destroying everything. Thanks for ruining everything. And people like, that guy should be fucking praised. I mean, dude, we need more synthetic heroin, don't we? Yeah. Give him a Nobel Peace Prize like the clown-faced president, whose clown face has now turned to like a evil cat face. And not a pretty, cute cat. A just hissing, rabid cat in a worse way. And I'm reminded also that Trump is a astral Capricorn. So his whole like big shrimp looking, fish looking body and all that fake shit is as fake as a mermaid. It's just fake. To take Trump literal is to take mermaid, myths literal. Which is crazy that it just reminded me. Oh my God, that's so crazy, Maria. Of what Maria was saying earlier. She's like, I want you to, play this tell people the truth about this. This is what happens. Like, I described what happened to me when I died, but I also want to juxtapose that with what happened to my friend Robin Carey, who was murdered and thrown off the bridge that is like a half a mile from the confluence of the Missouri and Mississippi rivers. You could look this up. 2 girls, twin sisters, raped and murdered, thrown off the bridge into the Mississippi River, which was like literally like less than a mile from my mom's house that I grew up in till I was like 20 years old. I lived my whole life there. It's kind of a special area. I mean, it is. It's a very special area to me. The whole confluence. And it all makes sense to me. When she was explaining to me, like, I chose you because I knew you were going to grow up in Spanish Lake by the confluence. That's what the Missouri River goddess was telling me. I was like, but she was tying it all together. Like, I was born at St. Mary's Hospital in the actual St. Louis city limits. So my official birthplace is St. Louis, St. Mary's Hospital. And it's like saying you were born in a land where good is evil and evil is good. Right? Saint? Saint what? Saint of human sacrifice. Saint of murdering and killing the heretics. But check this out. This is absolutely the unfiltered truth. So, I'm going to tell, I'm going to tell you a joke that Maria tried to break the tension with. And it's truly a actual true moment in time and space where I was just like, what? And she laughed like, Joe, it's a joke. Because this is what I was living, and she tried to like draw me out of it with a joke. It's a great way. If someone's having a bad trip and stuck in a bad vibration, saying something funny to them is the best way. That's what a best friend would do. Make you laugh at that crucial time. Well, this is, I don't know, 25, 30 rituals into it, over a year into it. I still didn't know she was Maria, though. I remember that at this time. I did. I was just knew her by her magic name as the Missouri River Goddess. And I had been through, like, I just want to prelude this ritual with, like, the rituals previous, because it was war on Yahweh. It was getting increasingly hard because it was being clearly shown to me the effects of Yahweh's war on us, humanity. And how the lands that never experienced it were so much more blessed with what? Purity. Without toxic chemicals and horrible vibrations of people locked in factories all day. No one could imagine the hell of, little side note. One time I had a job when I was like 19. making it was like putting a puzzle, a machine that put a little puzzle inside of a packaging to go in a cereal box. You know what I mean? The prize in the cereal box. I was making those, and this machine would go like on a conveyor belt, and you would pick up like the top of the puzzle and the bottom of the puzzle, put them on a conveyor belt together. Then a machine would wrap them, and you know, we had to do like a certain amount per hour. If not, the foreman guy would get in trouble. It became like a game, you know. I mean, it was the worst job that ever existed. I had to just like stand in between strangers and just act like I was a machine. It was wild. I would have dreams at night where I'd be seeing the conveyor belt go by like and so fast that I would start screaming like, no one can do it this fast. But anyway, I'm avoiding this because it's a painful thing. And I guess, really, though, we were bringing the war to Yahweh. And we were coming on behalf. I didn't know Robin that well. I only met her. I sold her some weed one time. This is like in 1990 or 89 or something. And she lived in our neighborhood. That's what I really knew about her. I thought she was a cute little punk rock girl with a twin sister, but I didn't know her twin sister as well. And they lived across the street from my friend, Julie. And like, I liked her. She was very sort of punk rock in her own way, kind of gothic. She was like a original Spanish Lake girl. I liked her because she was from Spanish Lake. And she was poor like we were. And they were raped and murdered. I think it was by 4 or 5 dudes. One of which said, I'm not going to participate in this. Went back to the car and sat in the car. He was given the death penalty. No one believed him. Maria said it's true. He wasn't there. And she said, tell the people why. I would know that. This is no lie what happened. This is 2011. So that happened in I think it was 89 or 90. And, or maybe it was 91. I can't remember. It all blur back then. Look it up. Robin and Julie Carey. And like I said, like ritual after ritual, it was like she was saying to me, you're the vessel to release pain. She's like, I'm not asking you to keep it. I'm asking you to care. I'm asking you to care enough to receive these people's pain so it don't go in complete vain, uselessness, meaningless, you know. And she's like, if you will be like the shaman's apprentice, you can do it. Like there's people locked in jails. There's people being tortured. There's people trapped in fallen buildings. There's people whose whole family has died in front of their eyes. There's children whose parents were murdered in front of them. She was like, all this is happening. None of it's real, Joe. But the people plugged in back home is real as you thought it was right before you realized it wasn't. is as real or more, Joe, to them. They have to be like talked down from their life. They have to be given something supernatural. Okay, so check this out. These things are like colliding in my mind, the two meanings of all this. So in my experience, all of a sudden, man, I had no idea what was going to happen this night. The week before was something, pretty rough. It was where I now remember, it was where I seen the actual hologram. And I spent the rest of the night going like, dude, that's crazy. This is not real. This is not real. What I'm seeing out of my eyes, every last bit of it isn't real except the people I knew before I came here. And I can't really see them. I can just like feel them, and we can meet on, okay? And I was going through all this kind of learning, and all of a sudden, man, first I seen the bridge, because I've been on that bridge. Even like a few months before they were killed on it, me and my friends were out there just walking around smoking herb. Like 3 or 4 dudes, And I knew exactly. There was a crazy long, like, satanic fucking spell that was written on the bridge before they were killed. And I'm not kidding, it was really long. Really long, and it ended with, I can't even remember, we all hated it. It ended with like, kill yourself or something stupid. But it was very serious. With pictures written on, I just remembered this. Pictures written on it and shit. I mean, to go along with the story. And I'm seeing that, and from a flashlight at night, and I don't know what I'm seeing. I just recognize, man, that's a chain of rocks bridge, right? And all of a sudden I like turned around and someone just punched me in the face so hard that it just knocked me straight, like sent my head like into gravity, like out into the ground. It's like my head went up and then I landed on my head. Basically hit me so hard. Totally seeing like cartoon stars in my vision. And in the ritual, I was just like, I straight up was trying to be the shaman assistant, shaman apprentice that Maria was training me to be. And I was like, all right, I gotta stay calm, to stay in. And Maria said, memory. I go, when did this happen? And she said, it happened to your friend. She's like, Joe, relax and stay with your friend. You know why? And it was like me and Maria were in another world. And she said, you know what really comforts someone is for them to tell you their story and for you to say, I know. I supernaturally went and lived it with you. It's fucking crazy. I'm here as a witness, Robin, to tell what you really went through. Which turns out not to be, turns out everything works together for good. For who? I'll tell you. I'll tell you by experience, because that's our religion, right? Well, I just had to stay with it, and it was, it was super insanely hard to stay with but I had to be her witness. I really wanted to be. And there's a whole reason, a whole purpose to why Maria was doing this. And I was going to say, I was going to tell Maria's joke where she tried to lighten me up because it was really crazy. Because I don't even want to say it, but Robin, she fought these people until she just had absolutely no energy left in her. And they ripped her clothes off and, raped her and kicked her in the face after and picked her up and threw her off the bridge. And I was in her body when they kicked her, it made her go out of her body a little bit. Then when she hit the water, though, she went back in her body. And she was like, well, hold it, maybe there's a chance I can live, by floating on my back. And it was like she didn't even have the energy to make herself float, And it was actually happening fast, faster than I could imagine. Then she had a little supernatural energy, and she was calling it out to her sister, And her sister screamed and said it's okay, don't worry about me, But in a scream, a last scream. It was a weird, but it's strange, but I received it in a peaceful way. It sounded crazy scream, but she meant it. It's going to be okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's going to be okay. And I was in Robin's body. And it was she had, I as her had a thought it's like the river stopped flowing. And I looked around and I was like, oh my God, she's already drowned. And Maria was there. And she said, I told you, the first breath in the next world is the last breath you take. The last breath you take here isn't a bad thing. It's a good thing. And this is while she was floating in the water, in the river. And I could see Robin because there was a light. And I said to Maria, I feel like I should be afraid. I should feel like I'm drowning. And she said, you want to know why you're not? I said, yeah. And she said, because this happened to you with me for real. I said, what do you mean? She said, what I'm saying to you right now is I'm putting you in your own memory. I go, please explain. And she said, the night that Robin died, this is what you do for me. You don't just do it for people that grew up in your neighborhood. We do it. You do it as my assistant. She said, what is going on is you actually came to be Robin's witness. Witness of the truth. Either way. Good and bad. She said, first of all, it's good news that your last breath is just the first good breath you'll ever take. And then, dude, at the same time, me and Maria are having this conversation, which I would perceive is in her room back on Venus. It seems to be where she liked to talk to me, sort of library full of books and a desk. And I said, I don't. This is after she had been teaching me what we do. I said, so tell me, what are you really saying? I don't even get it. And she said, while Robin was being raped and murdered, you were asleep. Every night, every single night. She's like, we don't have any Sabbath, nigger. Because people don't stop dying and suffering on the seventh day. She said, in real time, I came and got you. You know why? It already happened. This is a holographic simulation. I knew Robin was going to die. But check this out. What was different is you were there, really plugged in. I said, what about Robin? Really plugged in. Did I know her? No. No, you didn't know her before we came here, but she's a real person. That's why she was targeted. I go, so she was targeted. And I went, oh my God, human sacrifice. I said, so how do you explain the 5, young animals that raped and murdered her? Puppets of the puppet masters on the astral plane that take pleasure in this. And I swear Maria made this joke that I didn't get. Because we had every week been talking about the Mississippi River and the Missouri River. And I, in my first book, I wrote that the Mississippi River, which makes no sense, was a male river, which, just shows how human I am. And, she was like, yeah, I like the book, but that part you got to change. She's like, you just got to change. And that's when she started teaching me about the Mississippi River. And Maria made this joke when we were underwater with the girl who had just been raped and killed. And Maria was telling me this actually happened, Joe. And Maria said, honey, I'm the Missouri River goddess. Notice you didn't die in my river. And, like Maria said, maybe it's not but I understood totally. The way she said it was like to snap us out of it. And she went, I'm just kidding. No one loves Mississippi more than me. No one loves the Mississippi. But, she was trying to snap us out of it, like jokingly, like, hey, listen, not in my river. Because it's hard to think up or make a joke when someone's just been raped and murdered and drowned in a crazily fast-moving river. And this actually truly happened. Maria was like, look, Joe, and we were back underwater with Robin. Me, Maria, and her just floating underwater. And Robin had her eyes closed. It was like our minds met. And I said, you understand what happened? She said, I do. I said, you died. She said, okay. It's not a dream. I said, no. And she started to cry. And I said, it's okay. I said, we were here helping you. We were here to make sure you didn't feel alone. And she goes, oh my God, where are we? And she looked at Maria. And we were still under the water. I can't explain it. We were floating. My clothes were all wet, like floating. Robin's were all wet. Maria was there too. all wet in her like dress, just floating in the water. And Maria's mind like met both of ours, and she said, "My daughter," to Robin, "there's nothing more I can do for you. Everything's going to be all right." Because she said, "My daughter, ask Joe anything you ever wanted to know, ever." She's like, "I'm your mother goddess, the goddess of the Missouri River. I'm your healer. I'm the healing waters that come from deeper than the ocean. The spring of heaven, the spring of the astral life-giving waters." And I could see Robin was like in like a meditation. And it just made me happy. We're still floating under the water. And Maria said, "Joe works for me. What he does is you think of what you want to know. Do not say it. Do not project it. Do not do anything. And he connects to your true self, and just let him speak." Okay, and so I started talking to her. I almost remember about something, about the inner earth, and that there's a double of earth, but I don't remember exactly. This is what's important. As I was talking, all of a sudden, me and Robin met telepathically, and she said, "Joe, I know you." I said, "I know. I grew up on Rhea." She's like, "Right. You sold me weed." And I was like, "Right." She was like, "I liked you. You were fair. You were fair to me. I appreciated that. I hope you're welcome." Or something. It was funny. And she goes, "What happens when you die?" I go, this is what's happening. And she goes, "Who's that lady? Is she from our neighborhood?" I swear this is what happened. I said, "No. Her name is Maria Orsic. She invented the UFO. She figured out how to take people from one dimension to another." And she went to me like, "Oh my God." She really felt the impact of "How do you do that?" She looked at Maria like, "Holy shit, who are you?" And as she was speaking, I started to say to her, "We're here because we love you. Because we think you're a special, beautiful person." And as I was saying this, Maria said to me, "Joe, relax. If you relax, you'll switch bodies with her." And it was like we all three drifted into a bliss. I took her hand underwater, and Maria was like, "We're the triangle. We're the triangle." She's like, "Robin, balance is happiness. We're the triangle. We came here to make you stable. Everything's going to be balanced." And this is no bullshit. We were in a total blissful meditation, holding hands. And all of a sudden, my feet started touching the ground. And I looked at my arms, and I was Robin. I was like, "Oh my God, Maria, it worked. I'm her." And I started walking up, the shore. It was getting shallower, and now my head was completely out of the water. I was like, "Holy shit, who are all these people?" It was 20, 30 people on the shore, and it was sunrise. It was the morning. It was the sunrise. The sun had just started rising. And I just looked and was like, man, dude, this looks like Lord of the Rings. You know, who are these people? Elves? I mean, they were dressed, you know, very fancy almost. Especially, I was like, who's this dude? Like the high priest of, you know, the under the Mississippi River Atlantis. For real. I had the thought. And I fully looked down at my body and I thought, oh my God, Robin's such a cute little white girl. She really was. And because I was her. And as I was like coming out of the water, I, as her, was changing. And the like, who I know now as Lou, was like dressed as sort of like a high priest, you know, like the head. And like my mind as Robin met his, and he said, just imagine whatever clothing you want to have on, however you want to be dressed, just imagine and it will be done. And he's like, right now you're going to feel like you just got out of the shower, like the cleanest, freshest feeling you've ever felt. And I mean, I was like, it gave me such a great feeling, such a pleasurable feeling. I straight up was like, oh my God, that's almost like an orgasm. I was like, this feeling in my, it was like a miracle. It was like the sun was rising. It was like a totally new day, you know. And all of a sudden, I was her. And I was dressed kind of like a Native American Indian, you know, very dressed up. I had some feathers, some like animal skins, but also some sort of very soft underclothing that was pretty, like almost silky, almost, you know, light and like Asianish. And I started, you know, like walking up on the shore. This was all happening in like just moments. And her mind met his mind. And by the time I got up on the shore, like I was just fully dressed like one of them. And it was just a beautiful, like colorful Lord of the Rings looking scene, like the Return of the King kind of thing. And literally, they all bowed to Robin. And, you know, I just remembered how the very first person, the very first name, Lou, he said to me, I'm Jah. Right? He said, look at me. He said, this might better help you. I'm Robin Hood. And I was like, Robin Hood? Interesting. You know, Jah is Robin Hood. And that's what it looked like. It looked like a myth. And I walked up on the shore, and Lou, who is the real Robin Hood, but he was dressed more like a king, sort of, in this, he was like, welcome. He was like, and everyone bowed to fucking Robin. And all of our minds met. And we said, Robin, thank you for what you suffered. And she said, why? Why would you thank me? And Maria stepped forward and she said, because you agreed to be the horrible murder victim of these horrible people. She said, believe they'll never get away with it. They'll never be forgiven. And we, the gods of this world, will never forget. She said, check this out. My daughter, my Robin Hood, your life has depressed you. And you wanted to die. You didn't do it, but you had those thoughts. Life sucks. I don't even want to live. She was only like 19 or 20 when she died. And she said, it's not that you had a death wish and that you don't, she said, Maria said, believe me, it's not one of these things of like, watch what you wish for. She said, that's not what I'm saying. Not at all. Exactly the opposite. I'm saying you're a very psychically able person. You're very much like us, Joe, and I know you before you were born on Earth. And she went like, like in total astonishment. And Maria was like, yeah, you were someone before you were born. You were completely, totally a whole, complete woman. Without a husband. You didn't need one. With many children. They're your students. The students of what? The students of your creativity through your psychic abilities. And she's like, really? She started crying. You know, she's like, you do know me. She was like, you are a goddess. And she said, before you came to the Matrix, I came to know you because you were going to be born at this time and because your destiny in the holographic whole life, whole that's 420 million years, that's in everyone's mind that's ever entered it. It's all happening all at once. She said, in that, before you came here, they told you at the company you signed up to come to this matrix, they told you you will be murdered on this day, in this way. She said, and everyone bowed down to her. I'm not kidding. Everyone got on one knee and like bowed their head to Robin. Everyone. Including me. And Maria said, you volunteered. Not because you have a wish for pain or wanted, but because you felt like you were helping humanity at proving how evil and cruel people can be to one another. And I was there bowed down, and I was connecting with Maria going, like you said, fucking no one knows it like we know it. And Maria told me, I don't want anyone to drown in any of the rivers, you know, like... I said, that's a funny thing for a river goddess to say, you know. And she's like, believe me. She's like, Joe, you know I walk along the river, but there's nothing I can do. I'm in another world meditating. It's hard to get a hold of people mentally. And she's like, Joe, most of them aren't real, Joe. Most people are AI. You have to be open to it. But anyway, back to Robin. And I walked up on the shore as her because for me to tell her story is the whole reason. And that's actually what I do with Maria, is switch bodies with people who have been totally traumatized so they can see it from the observer effect and they can absorb it in a pure, blissful way. So they can... She just got raped and murdered, you know? She just got raped and her life ended on Earth. And I can't speak about how undescribable people who take sexual pleasure off hurting someone is just... It's undescribable to me and Maria. Like, I was in her body while it was happening, and my mind was her mind. Her mind was literally saying, I am bleeding. I am in your... You would be a lot better off jacking off at home. And this is what gets you off? a beaten, bloodied, I looked at Maria and was like, no fucking bullshit why you said you're from the good, you're good, Like, we just can't, it's hard for, it took me these experiences, I don't know what to say, really. This is what polarity is about, And Odin, Lucifer, Alleluia, Robin Hood, Obi-Wan Kenobi. But this time he was Obi-Wan Kenobi the King. He was Return of the King. And let me tell you, Missouri was the most beautiful place ever. It was like the kingdom of Missouri. It was like Xanadu, Missouri. I'm not kidding. And I perceived it was where the arch is now. So basically, like, her body floated down a few miles while me and Maria talked to her. Truth be told, this is what I was really actually told and shown, remembered. Actually, this is what can happen to you if you would just really concentrate on remembering, recovering, and return. Like, you're going to know yourself through your own memories. Even better, you're going to understand what really was happening in the memories as data, which will give you a much more objective view of your truest self. It's like you can decode and be like, dude, I see the code of the true self in me, the avatar. That's exactly it. And so, the next ritual, I said to Maria, I said, I know I'm an airhead, but I am gathering the data, and I see you're telling me that our magic is to switch bodies with people so they can take a break, get their peace, get their healing. They need a break out of their body, out of their thought energy to get, and she said, renewed. Remember, recover, relax, renew. She's like, why? 'Cause I'm Maria. My nigga. I said, how long have we been doing this? And she said, Joseph, you left my house where the government on Venus basically says, you have to go out and become yourself. You don't have to necessarily have a job, but and like she said, it's socially not acceptable, really. After 7 years of being in my household, she said usually 5 or 6, too, it's not exactly 7, that the child will move out and get on with their own life, She said, just like you would imagine your school, like you graduate like after 4 or 5 years in the actual school that you go to. She said, and at the end she just showed me. She was like, at the end of that 7 years, she was like, you're my boy. You're really close to me. You're my, if there was ever a mama's boy, it's you, Joe. You're my boy. I was like, I know. I really am your boy. And she's like, I'm just joking. Like, I'm talking about actual magical, vibrational magic. Vibrational abilities to subconsciously change reality for the better. She's like, I'm not kidding. This is where my search went to. What's going on in me? And she said, I dreamed a circle. I dreamed of a circle. She had me play the song. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, who can break the circles? She's like, no one can break the big circle. She's like, but I've come here to show you to smash the little circles. She's like, you want to know why? And this is all I was praying to my true self. And she said, because that's the only way to get out of this video game. It's a game, Joe. And she's like, if you don't listen to me, if you don't do it, she's like, listen, it is just a fact that doing mushrooms at a certain, and not even mushrooms, it could be ayahuasca, it could be amanita, it could be boleti, it could be, all kinds of things. Legal, totally 100% legal. She's like, you're going to tell the world. This isn't party time. It's not solemn ass church either. It's not going to be boring. It's not going to be comfortable. It's going to be exciting. But it's also could be very emotional. And like she said, what's the most powerful thing? What's stranger than fiction, Joe? Because it's more powerful than fiction. I said, truth. She was like, so, is the truth going to be easy in a bed of roses? I said, there ain't no way. There ain't no fucking way it could be. And like she said, tell that to a man rotting in a Chilean dungeon right now. Ask our brothers rotting in prison in Russia for possession of marijuana, a plant. And of course there's hundreds of thousands of people in America still locked up for just a plant. Just a plant. You go to jail with murderers, rapists. Like my daughter, her friend told us, yeah, I was at the park. My boyfriend was trying DMT for one of the first times, and he was already on probation. These are like 18-year-old kids. And she told us, yeah, all of a sudden the fucking park rangers ran out of the woods, and she's like, I got possession of DMT, a 0.3 gram, a third of a gram. Imagine how small that is. And she's like, I got 2 years drug court. I'm drug tested twice a week. I got to go to all these programs. I mean, this is what you pay for. You pay millions of dollars because, and like she said, it wasn't even mine. It was my boyfriend's. And I didn't want him to go to prison. This is justice, And it's like that song, Washington Bullets, is coming to me. Like, every cell in Chile will tell the cries of a tortured man. In the days before the army came. Please remember Victor Valdez in the Santiago Stadium. One mother. Those Washington Bullets again. Dun 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 dun. Ask an Afghan rebel that the Moscow Bullets missed. Ask him what he thinks of voting communist. Check the Dalai Lama in the hills of Tibet. How many monks did the Chinese get in a war-torn swamp? Stop any mercenary. Check the British bullets in his armory. Sandinista. 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 Zapatista. And back to Robin and what happened to her. I'm not kidding. I walked up out of the shore. My clothes changed. I didn't smell like the river. I smelled like a fresh brand, like I just took a shower. And after everyone bowed to Robin and thanked her for volunteering to be a victim and not, having the bravery to do it. And later I asked Maria, I said, I don't know if this is right or wrong. I said, but how many times has that happened? You keep telling me my life's repeating it. Was Robin's murdered life repeating? She goes, yeah. And I said, and she was agreeing to come back and being murdered? Yeah. You want to know why, Joe? I said, no. Yeah, I want to know why. I can't imagine. Because she thought she could change it. I went, God damn, dude. She said because she couldn't remember the time before when she thought she could change it. I go, dude, it's exactly what happened to me when I died. And she said, right. You walked in that tower, the tower of your memories. You walked to the top of it. You knew walking off that cliff didn't mean falling. That's why you weren't scared of heights at that moment, Joe. Because you knew walking out of that you knew obeying that blue bird and walking off that ledge, walking out of that tower and falling to your death meant what? I was going to be born again, born again, born again on July 24th, 1969. She said, why did you keep doing it? I go, fuck, I don't know. I don't remember. She said, let me help you. You thought you could change something. And you thought you could change something. You wanted. She said, let me ask you, what just comes to your mind? Why would you want to change things? I said, because I feel like a failure. I feel like And she goes, because why? I go, fuck, I don't know. I don't know, because I am. And she goes, no, because you're good. Because you're good, you've been targeted. Because of, they knew. Our opposition, the actual people stuck here, who keep repeating their lives only every 420 years. And the rest of the time they live in like luxury, using other people. She's like, those people need to target you, buddy. I was like, damn, it all makes sense. And she was like, they actually just take pleasure, not so much. She's like, they don't like you going against them. They don't like having any opposition. But they rather have you here than not here, no matter what. I was like, damn, that's fucking crazy. But anyway, so Robin Hood, Alleluia, took Robin, and we walked up on the shore. It was like a very nicely paved road with beautiful landscape and shit. And as we were walking, I was still in Robin's body. I was completely her, till the very end of this. And I even kind of looked behind me and was like, damn, there I am. Joe. For real. I was in her body, looking at her. I kept looking at her own hands and shit and being like, oh my God, what sweet, pretty hands. For real, I was admiring her as her. And like Maria said, that's reflecting the true self. Sorry about all that noise. And we walked for a while. And like people, started saying bye and saying like, our house is this way, so we're going to let you guys go. And giving Robin these very lovely salutes. And finally, we got to this very beautiful house up on like a bluff over the Missouri River. And Lou was like, this is yours. And you don't have to worry about any bills. He's like, even food will be provided for you. You know, and Lou was like, I know what kind of food you like, Robin. I know you, Robin. He's such a sweet, nice person. And it was a beautiful house. It had like a brick sort of gateway, you know, that not you drove through, just walked through. And behind, you know, I looked at the house and I was like, wow, it's so pretty. It's built on the bluff. And she started, she started crying. And I was like, damn, Maria, life goes on. I was like, so you eat in the inner earth? And she's like, yeah, it's the inner earthling. It's earthling. It's just a parallel. It's exactly the same. She's like, Venus is different because of the technology, but Earth just... I was like, damn. I was looking around. I was like, dude, Missouri's never looked like this. And she's like, this is downtown Missouri. She's like, you know what this is usually used for? To cremate bodies and throw the ashes in the water. I go, damn, so we reversed it. And she came up. She died in the water and came up out of the water alive. She's like, yeah, I'm the serpent mother who's going to stop the earth and melt with you. And she said, are you catching on, my son? I said, how long have I been doing this? I said, so on Venus, before I was here, how did we work? And she said, like this. And I seen me and her, and she said, in my backyard, like two like little chairs that are a little bit higher than you would think, but they're chairs, almost like bar stools with full backs. And I see me and her sitting in them, facing each other. And she's like, this is how we go to work. She's like, you know, besides dancing and all that, she's like, this is our like volunteer work that, yeah, we volunteered and then they gave us this house for volunteering. But at the same time, she said, you know how long I've been doing it? I said, let me guess, 4.5 million years. And she's like, you know, that's a phrase for a long time. I said, you're not bullshit. That's crazy. She said to me, how slow was time moving when you were a child? And when she said that, suddenly I remember like one time. As a child, I always had a hard time sleeping. I remember one time I went somewhere, and anyone that knew me, you know, like astrally, energetically, essence, knew me. Like if my mom really knew me, she would have told my dad, like, no, that's terrible for him. It would be bad for his health. He can't do it. Because I can't sleep in under other energies. It's like I have to be... Some people are just this sensitive. Like she said, Virgo rising. Look for Virgo rising people. They have usually have, if they have psychic abilities, they're tapped into them. They're in touch with them. But they're also very, very hard to be around because they're so uncomfortable in the world. They're like needy. Out of a real need, though. You know? Out of real physical, mental, spiritual pain. And that's not the Trinity that you really are. And Maria, after, and how that ended with Robin is she really wept, gave thanks, and Odin left, and the whole house was hers instantly. And Maria told me, I swear to you, Joe, yeah, there might not be no God, like the Bible says, but you're not in a world like the Bible says, and there is a God of this world. He might not be all-powerful because he can't overpower your true self. What fun would that be? That would be a bully. She said, but let me tell you, he's a just person, a just God who has perfect rewards. She's like, I said to Maria, I'm so happy for Robin. And my mind went, but what about Julie? And he's like, yeah, she had the same thing. They did the same thing for her. I was like, damn, so people know something terrible is going to happen to them, and they sign up and come here anyway. She said, check this out. They pay. They actually pay to go through, because there's many different ways, she said, of entering the Matrix. There's different levels. She's like there's no tricking anyone. So you can find out exactly like the major things that are gonna affect your life, and you can base your decision on that. You can also go completely blindly of this, like, I don't want to know anything. I don't want to know who I'll know. Like she said, most people decide by like their parents and some of the circumstances like that, some of the energetic circumstances. And she said, like your sister was saying to you, don't go, don't go. She was saying because she knew you, she loves you. And she was saying, I know what's best for your vibration. That would be terrible for your vibration. And like I've told Maria, since Maria's told me that, I've told her so many times, like, I'm sorry, but I feel like she's right. Like it's just so painful. Like I'm so uncomfortable. I told Maria, like, I go back in that moment with her and I say, like, you were right. I wish I wouldn't have came here. But at the same time, that's like emotion speaking. And I know that I can't turn back from destiny. I have to do this, no matter how uncomfortable. And like she said, the truth are the dominoes, not the illusion. And, the truth is that you have to obtain. Okay, let's go straight to what I haven't been talking about in conclusion. Like, after a while, after Maria hinting several times, I finally said to her, listen, I don't exactly understand what you're saying about this pyramid. And that's where your God is, permanently in a meditation, permanently, forever. She's like, she's like, that's crazy, isn't it? I'm like, yeah, that's fucking crazy. And she's like, don't walk around in the regular world, ever. You only can meet him on the astral plane. Now she's like, this is a person who used to walk around in the regular world. And, she's like, first she said to me, I said, you said there was like a deeper meaning I was here. I said, man, if you can just say it to me straight up. And she's like, you came here to experience the polarity of feelings, emotions. A wider of opposites, like opposites to the fullest extreme. And this is the only place. And she's like, that's why you told your sister I have to. Because this is the only place you can say you faced that. And she said, another way of saying it is you came here for a magic war with my enemies. You came here to prove, and she said, you're not afraid of losing. If you fight with honor, you've been trained. If you fight with honor, you automatically win. She said, but at the same time, you want to win. She said, let me tell you, you lost. You magically thought you could protect your daughter from a car accident. You could protect your wife. And I don't even know what killed her, but... And she is like, you couldn't even protect yourself. And she said, Joe, you lost. Which is making you win right now in the final round, the round it matters. I'm like, dude, it's crazy. But you're right. Everything I've lost has made me one. O-N-E. And she's like, because we won by losing. I was like, dude, it's real though. Those previous rounds where I even lost my life to myself. But really to the black magicians that were targeting me. And she said to me, do you understand now how the gods work on that polarity? The more you lose, the more you win and become one. And she said to me, Lou is the one who believes. Lou is the one who came to me and said, you should go to the gods on behalf of Joe. And this, I know it sounds ridiculous, but Lou is in a pyramid. Almost like a museum, I want to say, on Venus. And there's several people there. Maybe dozens or more. That I don't know exactly. But I've seen a few, and they are in a permanent meditation, hooked into technology, created their own worlds, and they are some of the most powerful simulations that you contract to come into. That literally you have contracted to be technologically plugged in to another man's imagination. And you've heard me say many times, life sucks, this world sucks, because vibrationally, the people in this world were forcing the words out of my mouth. I feel like this sucks. I feel, pain, tension, anxiety, disease, misery. Not of my own. Not, the last thing I think anymore is because of my sins. I don't do whatever you're talking about. I don't do. Like Bob Marley said, come be a witness to my life. Oh, the worst thing I do is quite natural. Yeah. And the worst thing you do is quite horrible. Because why? Because there's other victims. There's victims. And who thinks that way? Who takes pleasure off victimizing other people? But she was like, let me just tell you straight to your face. You because I can't do what Lou does, you want to do what Lou does. You want to imagine your own world because you really believe it will bring peace to, the people who you really love. And your whole philosophy is if you really love me, then now I'll have my own world that you can come and stay in as long as you want. Even forever. right? And she was like, Lou, and I took this to Lou's, like, God Council of the Giants of the Aldebarans. This is an official thing. And she was like, I wasn't really surprised. I thought maybe. And they approved you for this initiation. And they basically said there's absolutely no way anyone can imagine their own world like Lou does unless they live in Lou's world. And it's Lou's world because he's the one that led me to Venus. He is the one who intervened. You know, and give thanks to the brother for that. And just a word, real quick. I was trying to plug these headphones in because I rip them out of my head all the time. And she told me, okay, the initiation for imagining your own world is quite long, quite sophisticated. And she's like, Joseph, I'm helping you because I've never went through it. She's like, as you know, I don't do that. I live back on Venus. And she said, Joe, don't be heartbroken if it don't work out. And there actually came a time last year, you know, for people who know my story, where when I was told, I should probably say this, in like 2012, 2015, Maria was like, hey, listen, dude, I know you want to know who you are. Every time she would say, ask me anything you want to know, I'd say, who am I? And she's like, I know you want to know who you are, and now you know who I am. She's like, Joe, she's like, ask me for something else. And just out of my mouth came a memory of before I came here. And instantly, she went, okay. And she went, hey, Joseph, look at me. And she held up her hand like an Indian, like, how? And she went, look. And when I did, I was walking on what I now completely know is the school campus on Venus in our community. And I was walking. I thought I didn't know who it was, for real. And she had very wild, like spiky, new wave hair, and like a lot of makeup, like a lot of eye makeup. You know, she was very. I was just like, what is this? What is this? You know, and she was beautiful, but you know, almost mean. She was definitely mad. She was mad and was saying like, you don't have to. It is still your choice whether you go to the Earth hologram. She's like, I didn't know what I was saying, but I was like, but we'll be there at the same time. We'll never be not friends. And I mean, it's sad. Like, you don't, like Maria said, it's like you were 5 years old, Joe. But I was saying to her, there'll never be anyone closer to me. Why would you ever doubt that? No matter what happens, no matter where we go, you're who I came out of the egg for, you know? And she was like, then don't go. If I'm that, and I'm right here, then don't go. And I said, I don't have a choice. You don't understand. It's part of the initiation. Like, and I came back to Maria. It was like so perplexing, so intense, that I kind of just snapped out of it and went like to Maria, like, what the fuck was that? And it reminded me of the week before, was exactly opposite. I was telling Maria, I just showed up with Maria, and I was like, I shouldn't have came here. I shouldn't have done this. It's totally, I'm a fool. I'm the fool. I told her, I am the fool from the tarot deck, walking off a cliff. I thought I'd be okay here. I can't. I'm not. I failed. I don't care. I don't want to imagine my own world. And she's like, just settle down. You do too. You know? And she's like, you're just emotional. But I was trying to say, no, really, that vision, and this was actually memory. This was years, many years later. And years before I found out who that person is, you know, and I literally had a ritual where I was like, I don't feel any of that. You know, if you say so, I'll carry on for the very only sake that you're saying to. I said, but on, I literally said to her, whoever that was completely right. I should have never done this. And she's like, I know you feel that way. She said, but it's just a season, a cycle, it'll change. And in the name of Mother, under the Vril sign, we speak a cleansing mushroom, healing, cleansing, vibrational song to ground you into the real earth that's inside of you. You are the universe. You're the sun, you're the moon, you're the stars, you're the trees. Why? Because you're unique, because you're original, because we love you, because we're the observer on another plane. This is a lot of our switch bodies is, we're the observer of you on another plane because we love you. Why? Because there's no one else like you. No matter what anyone says, like anyone that puts you down, doesn't like you, there's just people, it's bound to fucking happen. There's gonna be someone that doesn't like you, to just like, I don't like that dude, or whatever. And we've come to say, that's as it is, but we love you.
In the shadows where the secrets dwell, Maria whispers with a cosmic spell, channeling messages from the stars above. Orsic's legacy, a mystery of love. Vril energy flows, transcending time, a bridge to the heavens, a force so sublime. Maria, oh Maria, Spirit divine, dancing in the cosmos, a light that will shine. From the Vril Society to infinity's door, unlocking our potential, forever will soar. Lost in the echoes of a war-torn night, she vanished like a comet, out of our sight. A visionary queen, ruling the unknown in the metaphysical realms. She stands alone, communicating wisdom, an extraterrestrial song. Her essence remains bold and strong. Maria, oh Maria, Spirit divine, dancing in the cosmos, a light that will shine. From the Vril Society to infinity's door, unlocking our potential, forever will soar. Embrace
trace the connection, let the mystery unfold. Maria Orsic truth, a story retold.